It's national meets regional. Welcome to Sidewalks Entertainment, the long-running celebrity, music, and art series. Join us now for an exciting new path to celebrity interviews, music, rising talents, and much, much more.
All right, welcome back to Sidewalks. Our next guest is a successful journalist and TV host who has covered just about every major story of the past 3 decades. We can't forget her as the OG host of the ABC talk show The View, and also Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We can't forget her from that. I'd like to welcome the one and only Meredith Vieira to the show. Meredith, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Veronica, thank you for having me.
Yeah, really quick, before we get into the Great American Read, I wanted to flash back with you briefly on kind of your career and how you got started. I know everyone has different stories on how they got started, but for you, what was kind of the aha moment for you when you got started?
Well, it's interesting. I was a senior at Tufts University in Massachusetts, and I had been bouncing all over the place in terms of majors. I started out as a math major, then I was a theater major, then astronomy, then French, then English, and finally my senior year, the dean called me in, who I think liked me well enough and said, "Do you really want to graduate?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you better pick a major." So I picked English because I tended to enjoy those classes. I read a lot, I wrote a lot, and then in January of my senior year, I took a course, non-credit, in broadcast journalism. I don't to this day know why I did it. I just decided, okay, I'm going to do it. And the final project was, it was radio. And the final project, they divided the class into groups of 4, and each group had to create a documentary for radio. And in my group, it was on redlining, basically keeping people of color, minorities out of certain areas. And that was the piece that we did, and we all reported it, and we all wrote it, and then they asked one person to narrate, and I narrated mine. They brought in the head of CBS in Boston to critique all of them. And after ours had played, he said, "Who is that?" And I raised my hand, and he said, "I need to see you." And I thought, oh, God, he's going to say I can't graduate. I just had this image. And he said, "What are you doing when you graduate?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "You have a big career." And he hired me on the spot as an intern at CBS Radio in Boston. I don't know what he saw in me, what he heard in me. But it was the first time anybody had said to me, "I see a future," so I said, okay, I'll get on that bandwagon, and I never looked back. And it turned out, oddly enough, life is so weird, that journalism was the right fit for me because if you notice all my majors switching around, I was a jack of all trades, a master of none. So if you've got the attention span of a 2-year-old, journalism is great because every day your story changes. So it ended up being the right fit, and I've never looked back.
Oh my goodness, that's always interesting to hear these stories. I mean, I'm in the same career as you somewhat, but you've got 3 more decades on me, of course. But this is so great to hear because you just never know what's going to happen in your life. You think you're going to go one direction, then you go another. So
totally, you always have to be open. And even as you get older, and if people look at my career now, they'll go, "Boy, you've done a lot of things. You were in news, then you jumped to talk, then you did game," and that seems odd, but I don't like following just one path. It's fun to get off the path and see what else is out there, and it just helps you grow as a professional.
Yeah, of course. And that's what I was going to ask you, actually, because I know you've done hard news, you've hosted fun shows, and The View and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Some of our fans were actually asking us to ask you, would you ever revisit doing some shows like this as well, besides the hard news?
I always think it's a little risky to go back, and I've had great experiences with every broadcast that I've been a part of. And I have dear friends to this day, knock on, whatever, that remains the case. I think it will. But, I sort of like to go out at a high in places. I always think that's healthy for me. But I never say never to anything. I'd be very honored if any one of those shows invited me back, for sure. But I like where I am now. I have the luxury to do something like the Great American Read, which I would not have had otherwise.
Exactly, yeah. Well, obviously, speaking of stories and hosting, now you're in this PBS show. You teamed up with PBS, the Great American Read. So how did you get involved with this? I'm curious. And, reading is I love reading. I've been doing, obviously, some people don't like it, some people do. Some people fall asleep doing it. So for you, how did you get involved?
Well, they came to me. with this project.
Yeah.
So they had been working on it for a while, and they were looking for somebody to host it and to sort of be the voice in terms of getting people excited. And they asked me, and I said, absolutely. I love this whole idea, the initiative of reminding people how great it is to fall in love with a book. I think that we live in times where people don't read as much as they used to, and we're all sort of on our laptops constantly, or because of the news cycle, we're very involved in what's going on in the moment and forget the joy of a great novel. So I loved it as an idea, a concept, and then when I got involved, it was just fun. They had the poll conducted of the top 100 books. It wasn't PBS's poll, it was a poll of Americans. Great cross-section, and that's how those books were selected. And then we put the list out in May and said to people, please spend your summer reading and voting on your favorite book. You can vote every day. And most importantly, sharing your thoughts with others. And because of this series, we have a Facebook book club with 50,000 members. Book clubs formed all over the country. We generated 4 million votes for books. And that's a cool thing. It's just I mean, I'm not J.K. Rowling, and I'm not trying to say that, but I thought, how she must have felt when that first book, Harry Potter, came out, and she discovered that she had made reading cool for kids again. That's sort of the way I felt about the PBS series. We want to remind people that reading is really cool.
It is. And that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, Meredith, obviously some people are thinking that bookstores are going to go away. I hope they don't, because there's something about having a book in your hand, but then there's also this whole idea of technology with the e-reader technology and Kindles. For you, do you prefer holding the book, or do you use a Kindle?
Bookstore all the way, baby. Bookstore all the way. I'm not a Kindle person. I got one for Christmas years ago. I thanked the person profusely. I've never opened the box. It's not who I am. And I have nothing against people who are into e-readers. I get it, but I don't like this whole thing of scrolling. I have to hold a book, smell a book. I love to dog-ear pages, all of that. And then they're my buddies. I love to put them on a shelf and go back and go, hey, and pull you out again. How you doing? And read it again and discover all kinds of new things. Or to share it with somebody. I love reading my original books, like Charlotte's Web, to my kids. There's something really cool about that.
And that's what I was going to ask you. What are maybe some of your favorite books, or are there any of them that made the list as well for you?
A lot of them made the list. I could go on and on with the books on the list. My favorite is To Kill a Mockingbird. Read it when I was 13, and it profoundly changed my life and how I see myself, and see myself in terms of this world in which we live, and my obligation, my role as a moral citizen. So that was profoundly impactful for me. But, the book that had the biggest effect at the earliest age was Eloise by Kay Thompson, which didn't make the list. But it was the first time I saw a lead character, a little girl who was totally disheveled, had a bit of a mouth on her. I loved it. She was spunky, and she lived in the Plaza Hotel. I grew up in a ranch house, outside of East Providence, Rhode Island. Here's this kid in the Plaza, and no one knows where her parents are, which, I love my parents, but I thought that was pretty cool. And she had a pet turtle, and I honest to this day believe that's why I ended up in New York. I just wanted to be Eloise. I even wanted to live in the Plaza, but I couldn't afford it. When they switched to actual condos. But anyway,
that's awesome. I know the one that I was hoping would have made the list. I don't know if it did, but The Alchemist. Are you familiar with the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho?
I haven't read it though.
Oh my God, Meredith, what is going on? You need to go read that after we're done with this interview.
Okay, you got it.
It's the most amazing story, and it's so inspirational. You'll see why when you catch a read of that. But hey, you never know. Maybe we do another contest, and maybe that'll make the cut. So, all right, Meredith, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to have you back here on the show, and much continued success to you.
Thank you so much, Veronica. And thank you, San Francisco. My oldest son, Ben, lives there. Thank you for taking care of him.
Yes, of course. Come visit us if you can, Meredith. We'll get some coffee and have a read together.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
All right, Meredith. Well, we hope we see you here in San Francisco, and maybe with your son as well. Thanks for joining us today. And If you want to learn more about Meredith and maybe the Great American Read, you can go to our website at Sidewalks TV to find out a little bit more, or go to PBS's website to find out more about your favorite books. All right, we have more Sidewalks in just a moment.
For more full-length celebrity interviews, visit sidewalkstv.com.